Nocturne by Chopin. Well, this is just very simple but very pretty duet. Kind of last duet for me with this piece. by Beethoven. Maria Cani.
Now we would like to take a minute and say a few words. So I would like to say a few words about my experience with Mrs. Moffett. She has taught me piano since I was 8 years old and encouraged me to continue with lessons when I was getting bored and wanting to quit. Look where I am now. Without her, I would probably never have won the Minnesota Music Teachers Association contest and been invited to participate in the honors concert. Also, she has made all of my success in the many festivals I have done possible. She will tell you that my accomplishments have been mainly because of my natural talent. Sure, I have talent as a student, but she has great talent as a teacher too. I guess we make a pretty good pair. For the past 6 years, she has been driving 2 hours round trip every week to come teach me and my family how to play piano. What other teacher would do this? Not many, I would think. So I want to thank you, Mrs. Moffett, for being such an incredible teacher and believing in me for all these years.
All right, mine's a little longer because I'm a girl, so. 9 years ago, Mrs. Moffett walked through our front door. "Hello," she exclaimed in a high-pitched, heavily accented voice. No one could understand a word that she said. We kids all looked at each other and wondered how we were ever going to make these piano lessons work. Now, Michael has a hard time remembering that Mrs. Moffett isn't our blood relative. I remember how proud I was to learn how to play chopsticks. I actually remember that whole first piano lesson very well. There were times throughout the years, however, when I did not want to progress from the level on which I was currently playing. Each time Mrs. Moffett bumped up our piano practice times is firmly etched in my memory. I hated practicing, especially Baroque and etudes, and I greatly disliked competition. But she was with me every step of the way, insisting that I could handle a new level of challenge when I could not believe in myself. I love to remember the year that Chris and Teresa played Sleigh Ride. Mrs. Moffat had so much energy during their practices. She would stand over them, waving her arms wildly, singing along to the melody and bobbing up and down excitedly. Then Chris and I would play duets. We would get to laughing hysterically over nothing, with poor Mrs. Moffat wondering what was so funny. If Chris messed up, he would get a smack on the back of his head. My mess-ups would earn me a comment like, "Okay, interesting rendition." She was always honest with her critiques, but Mrs. Moffat was also always careful to remain encouraging to those of us who needed the extra support. Over the years, Mrs. Moffat has become more than just a piano teacher. She cried when she heard that we were moving, and now drives a 2-hour round trip in order to spend over 5 hours teaching us all piano every Thursday. She is both my friend and my adopted aunt. When Mom asked Christopher and me if we wanted to have Mrs. Moffat speak at our graduation ceremony, we both agreed that that was a great idea. But she'll cry before you do, Chris warned Mom. I don't think that an ordinary piano teacher would have to have a moment to herself every time she thinks about how few lessons she has left with her graduating students. Mrs. Moffat, I love you and I truly appreciate all the time you spent with me. You have always seen something in me that I couldn't see for myself. Thank you for being the amazing teacher that you are. Love you.
Teacher, what else a teacher can wish to hear? You know, I have few teachers in this class right now, and they understand me more than any other parents. I'm sorry, but I cannot speak. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Now I need to thank everyone who was performing today. It was amazing concert, and every year I see it. Every year it's getting better and better, more and more interesting. And I'm very happy that little ones who grow right now, they see what their older brother and sisters or just friends doing. And I really hope that they will learn more and more. Enjoy music, please. This is amazing gift. And now, let's go and eat something before I will start crying again.